Having a sister who was a junior high school graduate would be laughed at by their family over there. They're all elites. I won't invite you to my wedding, and even if something happens to you, I won't go to your funeral. If you want to resent someone, resent yourself for being uneducated. My sister's words that denied my entire life made me cry. I had been acting as a mother to my siblings for a long time, but had I been raising my children wrong? The answer was that my sister herself would prove it in her life. My name is Charlotte. I'm 40 years old and I got indigestion on the same day when I was excited to eat meat dishes and said I would eat a lot in the summer. I'm getting old, aren't I? I could eat as much as I wanted about 10 years ago. 10 years ago was a turning point for me. I have a sister Valentina who is 5 years younger than me and her brother Benjamin who is 1 year younger than her. When I was in elementary school, my parents divorced and a new father came to our house. At first, I thought this father was also kind. But gradually, he began to show his true nature. When I came home from school, my father drank alcohol during the day and lay down in the small living room of the apartment. When he was in a good mood, he suddenly hugged me and said something like, "You've grown up so much." He blew his breath, which smelled of alcohol, into my ear. He put me on his lap, stroked my hair, and massaged my shoulders for no reason. I don't have many memories of a normal father, but I guess he was kind to me. I don't know what this behavior meant to my father, but for me, it was disgusting to be treated like that by a drunken man. However, when he was in a bad mood, he would glare at me and sometimes get violent. Compared to that, it was a better day. I was reluctant to go home until I opened the front door because I didn't know which way my father's mood would go. If my sister or I went home first, he was in a good mood most of the time, but when my brother came back first, he was always in a bad mood. Looking back, I realized that my father was favoring only girls. Even if I consulted with my mother, I couldn't get her to take my side. On the contrary, "Your father is desperate to become a family, so get along with him." She said something like that. To be honest, I think my mother was protecting herself by pretending not to see my father's behavior toward us. Because of my father, who didn't work, my mother started working day and night. So my mother didn't know how scary it was for us to spend the night with my father, or even to look into the eyes of that man who was drunk and angry. Even when I was in junior high school, I was hugged when my father drank alcohol, and I couldn't help feeling in danger. Actually, this man and my mother were not married and had been in a common-law relationship for a long time. It's strange that a teenage girl is hugged by a stranger who is not even her father on the family register, no matter how drunk he is. Even if I can think of him as my real father, there is no trust between me and this man, so I can't forgive him. My sister and I are being loved for now, but my brother seems to be getting more and more dissatisfied with him every day, and it's too late to do something after something happens. I secretly made a plan to leave home. But there were no relatives I could rely on. I consulted with my junior high school teacher and was introduced to a job. The former classmate of the teacher was a president of a company, and he could work even if there were some problems, and there was a dormitory, so it was okay to bring my siblings. It was too good for me, and I wondered if it was really okay, but I decided to work at the factory I was introduced to because I couldn't help it. On the day I graduated from junior high school, I pretended to go out to play, and I met my younger siblings who had finished school. And we moved to a new place to live. I was worried every day that my parents would find us and take us back. But I didn't have to worry about that. The workplace I was introduced to was a pretty good sweatshop. Overtime was available for any number of hours, and if I had any complaints, I could quit. People with problems couldn't quit easily, and those who worked there were always stressed and irritable, and human relationships were the worst. You could hear shouting everywhere, and sometimes you could see people muttering in the corner of the workplace with a serious face. It was definitely not a healthy workplace environment. However, I had no choice but to do my best for my sister and brother. From now on, those children will go to high school or university, and they have the right to hold a future that I couldn't. So I swore in my heart to make those children happy no matter what. I endured every day with that in mind. Even though I was harassed at work because I was young, I worked hard and gradually became more financially stable. To be honest, I'm not rich, but compared to when I started from empty, I'm better off. As I got older, I had more job opportunities, so when I was 19, I quit my factory job and moved from the company dormitory to a small apartment and worked at a convenience store. I decided to work hard for my siblings' future, even if it was a bit of a stretch. I saved money little by little for living expenses, my siblings' tuition, and the cost of getting my own qualifications by working at a convenience store. At the age of 25, I started working as a medical clerk in a pediatric department. At that time, my brother was also working part-time in a physical labor job and earning his own tuition. Only my college student sister gradually became strange. "Valentina, you've been drinking every day lately, haven't you? Where are you getting that money?" "Huh? It's surprising what I can do if I split the bill with my friends. I mean, you can't get by with the allowance I give you. You're not even working part-time. There are various ways." "You're too naive, sis. I have plans, so I'm going now. See you later." "Hey, wait a minute." I felt uneasy about my sister's back as she left home in a hurry. My sister, who was a sophomore in college, frequently went out to eat around this time and often came home drunk. My brother, on the other hand, was furious, saying, "Why don't you work instead of going out drinking?" I wanted my siblings to live freely and comfortably after separating them from our parents based on my one-sided judgment. If they don't go too far, they can go out drinking without working part-time. I wanted her to enjoy things that only students can enjoy, even for me. However, I'm worried about how my sister, who doesn't have any money, is raising funds. No matter how many times I ask, I don't get a proper answer. Moreover, my sister's clothing has become more flashy over time. I was convinced that something was wrong when she started carrying handbags. So I made time to hold a family meeting. Then, my friends have a wide network of connections, including children from wealthy families and company presidents. They introduce me to various people. Those people pay for the girls' drinks, so there's no problem. Huh? I was stunned by my sister's otherworldly conversation. What kind of drinking is it where big-name entertainers and politicians flaunt young people and enjoy themselves? Moreover, it seems that they receive gifts, not just alcohol expenses. She receives gifts from adult men and she is not even paying for her drinks? Even if my sister looks like my mother, it's a little abnormal. Is that okay? You don't know who's coming. So everyone is a well-established president or something. What is my sister talking about? She looked like she wanted to say that, but it's possible that he's a self-proclaimed president. In any case, there shouldn't be any good guys who want to drink with young people even if they pay for their drinks. Stop that. If you don't have enough allowance, I can help you out. My sister flinched at my shouting, but she retorted, "I want to increase my network by associating with VIP. This is an investment in my future." According to my sister, if things go well, meeting people in such places can lead to preferential treatment in employment or even becoming the wife of a company president. If you have money, you can live a more comfortable life. You don't have to work as hard as you do, sis. That's why networking is important. It hit me hard when she said that. I don't think there was any money even when I was with my parents. My father didn't work, and my mother was barely making ends meet. I think it's the same or worse than it is now. However, I, who only graduated from middle school, had no way to earn more than I do now. If I thought about the future, I wanted to have a stable life where I could work during the day and immediately provide money if something happened to my siblings. My sister is doing this because she has a latent desire to live a more affluent life. I felt sorry for being a bad sister. However, I still don't want to send my beloved sister to a place where I don't know what kind of person is there. After repeated persuasion, I was able to get her to stop participating in drinking parties. Peaceful days continued for a while. And a little after my sister graduated from college. I'm leaving home. What? Why all of a sudden? I was surprised by my sister's sudden offer. She was a new employee at work after graduation and hadn't even received her first paycheck yet. Where would she live after leaving home? However, she seemed serious, and she was holding a bag of luggage in her hand. I'm getting married. Huh? Even my brother, who was fiddling with his smartphone with a blank face, raised his voice together. Wait a minute, sis. Who are you marrying? Although I wanted to ask the same thing, my brother was the first to speak up. Since hearing about that drinking party she often went to during her university days, my brother has been somewhat contemptuous of my sister, saying, "Don't flatter old men." He must have had a bad feeling about the 2 words of marriage that came out of my sister's mouth, just like me. We were stunned, and my sister answered with a straight face. I mean, we're already registered. My sister's sudden offer left me speechless. I went to see our parents. Why? My sister didn't answer. Why did she go to see such parents? Am I the only one who can't forgive them? Well, that's why we won't see each other again, but, bye. Saying that, my sister headed for the entrance, and I stopped her, saying, wait a minute. I couldn't be satisfied with such an explanation. I am her older sister and a substitute for my parents. Shut up. You're late for your appointment. I'm keeping my husband waiting. My sister was indignant. Wait a minute. Why did you go to see mom and dad? I don't even know who you married. I'm worried. What do you mean we won't see each other again? My words were incoherent, and my sister sighed. Well, he's someone I met at a drinking party when I was in college. He contacted me before graduation, and we started dating. Dad and mom are college graduates, right? My husband is an elite. We're inviting the parents of college graduates to the wedding, so my low-educated sister doesn't have to come. I can't embarrass their family. I won't see you again because you're low-educated. Even if you die, I won't go to your funeral, so forget about me. Saying that, my sister smiled and left the house. Seriously. She's the worst, sis. My brother, who looked really disgusted, offered me his hand and asked if I was okay. But I couldn't even hear my brother's voice. My head was full of my sister's words. I left home to protect my siblings, gave up going to high school, was blamed for things I didn't do at work, and endured being scolded. I sacrificed my youth and was left with the words, I don't want to go to the funeral of my low-educated sister. What was my life? Maybe for my sister, it felt like something I did on my own. I've been desperate many times because of my parents and the environment around me, but this was the first time I felt hopeless enough not to cry. Are you okay, sis? I know it's a shock, but it's okay. Forget about that kind of person. You don't have to go to the wedding, and we don't have to go to her funeral either. My brother said something pretty harsh, but I could understand what he was saying. Pursuing someone who hates me won't change anything, just like in love. If she's ashamed of me, I'll just leave her alone. That might be the last kindness I can give her. For a while, I pretended to be strong, but I couldn't get over my sister, and I had days when I couldn't recover. But I decided not to get involved anymore after I found out something. It was about 1.5 years after my sister left home. Suddenly, my sister called me on my cell phone. I decided to ignore it with my brother next to me, but the phone rang again. I should have set it to reject calls, but I changed the settings too late and accidentally answered the phone. Hello? Sis. Please come to the wedding. My sister's voice was tearful. What? Wedding? I was stunned. My brother saw me like that and asked me quietly, what's wrong? I just told him, well, something about a wedding. At that moment. Oh, is it today? Brother replied. My sister also answered at the same time. It's today. Yes. My brother, who is a college graduate, had received a wedding invitation from my sister, but he tore it up without replying. So even though we knew there was a wedding, we didn't remember the date. Didn't you tell me not to come? What's going on? My sister was silent for a moment in response to my question. Mom and dad didn't come either. I don't even know where they are. I couldn't help but burst out laughing when I heard that. They're really terrible parents. This is a mess. I was supposed to give a speech thanking mom. Just pretend you're there and talk. I can't do that. The family seats are empty. I see. If we don't go and our parents don't go, the seats will be empty. It's like saying that the bride's family is having problems. Isn't it more embarrassing to have someone with low education sitting there? Please. I'll apologize. I'll give you money. Come to the wedding. Well, Benjamin and I are traveling now, so it's impossible. What? Because you weren't here, we could save food and living expenses for 2 people. Benjamin was already working part-time and got a job, so we have more money now. I can't believe it. I sent you an invitation and knew today was my wedding day, but you're traveling. It's your own fault. To be honest, I didn't look at the invitation properly because I was told not to come. I didn't expect you to come crying to me now. It's just a coincidence. I don't believe your excuses. You're ruining someone's special day. You're the worst. You really don't think about the life I've sent you to protect you and your siblings. I don't want to ruin the special day of my beloved siblings. Even if you said you wouldn't come to my funeral. But why did you trust those parents? That's your mistake. Why did you get fooled in the first place? Huh? Mom dropped out of high school and Dad didn't even graduate from middle school. Dad even has a criminal record. Are you kidding me? They were talking about being college graduates. Did you listen carefully to the conversation about them being college graduates? Did you misunderstand something you heard in the middle of the conversation? I don't think so. Only our real father is a college graduate. You might not know because you were little, but Mom and our current father never went to college. My sister was speechless at my words. If they had gone to college, we would have had a better life. Life was better before the divorce. Dad didn't have a job because of his criminal record and education, and Mom didn't have a good job, so she worked at night. I don't believe you. You don't have to believe me if you don't want to. Okay, that's fine. But is your husband okay? He looks a little suspicious. Huh? My husband? What are you talking about? Actually, after you left, I asked a private detective to investigate you. What? My sister showed disgust at my words. Well, anyone would hate being investigated without knowing it. However, it wasn't me who requested the investigation, it was my brother. My sister's husband was more than a year older than her. They got married about 2 months after they started dating. His family runs an apparel shop. He is an elite graduate of a famous university and a director of a major company. Well, he's a person with a brilliant career, but it seems that he and his friends from college have been doing something like investment fraud. It seems that they are mainly targeting elderly people, and they are very good at it. They haven't been charged yet, but it's only a matter of time. My sister, who knew everything, was silent. When I suggested divorce, my sister shouted, "Don't be ridiculous. I don't believe that nonsense. What is this? Are you trying to ruin the wedding? You're just lying. That's enough. We can have the wedding without any relatives." I wanted to say that she should have done that from the beginning, but my sister hung up before I could argue. Half a year later, my sister suddenly came to my house and begged me for help. She was considering divorce just before her husband was arrested, but she had nowhere to turn. My brother told me to leave her alone, but I am still her older sister and a substitute for my mother. I forgave my sister and started living with her again, but she messed up again. It was about a year after we started living together. Suddenly, my sister left a note saying, "My family has found a rich boyfriend who runs a company. We have a baby, so, bye," and left the house. However, this rich boyfriend was a terrible person. He was spoiled all his life and had no sense of money. He still receives pocket money from his parents and has never worked. He told my sister that he was a lawyer, but it turned out that he was just playing a lawyer game at the time and said the profession that came to mind. After they got married, he was always with his mother, and they did everything together. My sister was neglected, And her mother-in-law took a child who looked just like her husband away from her, so she couldn't participate in child rearing. I thought I would endure it because they had money, but the company had already gone bankrupt due to the recession, and soon her husband's pocket money ran out. Even so, her husband made my sister work, saying, "You have to work no matter what." Work. When my sister reached her limit and asked for help from our house, my brother and I couldn't forgive her this time. We have to make her realize that she is wrong if she thinks she will be spoiled forever. My brother seems to have complete contempt for her and told me not to get involved with her. I had to be cruel to be kind to her, so I sent her away and haven't seen her since. Now that I think about it, it might not have been my education that was bad, but my sister might have inherited the personality of my mother, who had no luck with men, more than anyone else. After that, my brother and I got married, so we left the apartment where we had lived together for many years. My husband and I have a boy and a girl, and my brother has twin girls. Both families are happy. Now we live close to each other and visit each other frequently, and we have more opportunities to let our children play together. My son is completely in love with my brother's twin girls, and it's cute to see my daughter a little jealous of that. My son also seems to enjoy seeing my daughter pout when her big brother doesn't play with her. As a parent, I'm relieved to see them loving each other. I once told my brother, I didn't feel like I was being treated very well by my parents, so I want to give my children as much love as possible. He casually replied, I didn't feel that way too much. It's probably because you took care of us carefully. I cried when he said that. I wondered if my sister became like that because I made her lonely, or if I was worried about my own child rearing, but my brother proved that the time when I was a mother to my young siblings was not a mistake. Let's raise our children with confidence. I want to continue to make a bright and smiley family. I pray that we will have happy days forever.